Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 annual meeting of the members. I'm Neil Couture, the Chief Executive Officer of ASNT. I welcome our members and guests in attendance. I'd first like to introduce the elected officers. Some are present here on stage and some are in the audience. Dr. John Chen is Chair of the Board of Directors. Mr. Clyde May is President. And Mr. Jason Riggs is Vice President. Also present are Mr. John Kinsey, who is President of ASNT Certification Services, LLC, and ASNT Director. And in the front row over here, Mr. John Iman, President of the ASNT Foundation and ASNT Director. Ms. Neely Wheat, Chief Financial and Administrative Officer and Treasurer. And Ms. Jill Ross in the front row, who is the Secretary. All right, from here on out, we're going to hold our applause till the end, or we'll be here all day. I would like to recognize the other members of the ASNT Board of Directors. Would you please rise when your name is called and remain standing? Please hold your applause until all names have been called. Dr. David Allain, Mr. Michael Childers, Ms. Stacy Cote, Mr. Larry Culbertson, Mr. Joshua DeMonbrun, Mr. Roger Engelbart, Ms. Kathy Ferguson, Ms. Anita Gregorian, Mr. Wade Jenstead, immediate past chair, Mr. Danny Keck, Mr. Derek McCain, Mr. Brian McKenna, Ms. Emily Pelican, Ms. Shana Tellez, and Dr. Satish Utpa. Thank you all for being here. Please be seated. We have several past presidents of the Society present in the audience today, whom I will now introduce. Please rise when I call your name and remain standing, and again, hold your applause. Mr. David Bajula, Mr. Scott Cargill, Dr. John Chen, Mr. David Culbertson, Mr. Roger Engelbart, Mr. Bob Fioli, Mr. John Iman, Mr. Danny Keck, Mr. Joseph Mackin, Mr. Michael McGloin, Mr. Ricky Morgan, Mr. Hussein Sadek, Mr. Kevin Smith, Mr. Marvin Trim, and Mr. Michael Turnbow. Thank you all for being here today. I would also like to recognize the visiting dignitaries from our sister societies. Most are hopefully in the room today, but I'll go ahead and introduce them. A lot of these folks have traveled a long way, so we appreciate you being here. Again, hold the applause until the end. Miss Mary Beth Michelli, NDTMA, Mr. Richard Arnn, Mr. Nathan Carter, Mr. Kyle Hobart, Mr. Steve Snyder, Mr. Ramesh Sankaran, all from the American Welding Society. Professor Ikua Ihara, Mrs. Ihara, Mr. Shohei Uka, and Mr. Kota Kubo of the Japanese Society. Mr. Jorge Amsler from Argentinian Society. Mr. Joao Conte, Mr. Antonio Alessino, and Ms. Irani de Oliveira from the Brazilian Society. Mr. Emilio Gonzalez, Mr. Augustin Marin from the Spanish Society. Ms. Maria Lux Sanchez Rodriguez and Mr. Fermin Gomez, the European Federation. Mr. Josh Morris, Mr. Stuart Norman of the Australian Institute. Mr. Ian Cooper, Ms. Caroline Bull, and Mr. James Gaffney of the British Institute. Mr. Glenn Tubret, Mr. Ed Cabral of the Canadian Institute. Mr. Pierre Husarek from CoFriend, Mr. Yagil Shoef and Mr. Amikai Pesach, and Mr. Joseph Shoef from Israel Society. Mr. Peter Trampas from Hungarian Society. Dr. Krishnan Balasubramanian from the Indian Society. Mr. Sajish Kumar Babu from ICNDT, Mr. Havard Sletvold, and Mr. Stale van Krog from the Norwegian Society. Whew. Let's thank all those folks for being here. This meeting is being conducted live here in Las Vegas, and it is being broadcast simultaneously to members online through Zoom. Online participants will be able to see and hear the presentations and discussions in the room, but we ask online members to type their questions and comments into the chat box in Zoom. Your questions will be relayed to us, and the officers will respond accordingly. We appreciate everyone's patience with this process. Also, be informed that we are recording this event and will make it available for member viewing shortly. I now invite Ms. Jill Ross, Secretary, to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Couture. Notice of this meeting was published in the October 2024 Materials Evaluation by emails to the members on September 13th, October 1st, October 8th, and 15th, and through ASNT's social media channels, thereby meeting the notice requirements of the ASNT bylaws and the Ohio Revised Code. Notice included instructions for attending by use of telecommunications equipment, and 50 members have joined online today. The bylaws require attendance of at least 1% of the members being assigned to no fewer than 10 different sections for quorum to be present. I have determined that the quorum requirements have been met. However, members should note that there are no items of business on the agenda today requiring a membership vote. There will be time allotted for members to make comments or ask questions of the officers after all the presentations are complete. I now invite ASNT's Chair of the Board of Directors, Dr. John Chen, to the podium.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. The meeting will come to order. I'm supposed to have that, but I won't do that. The meeting agenda is now shown on the screen. I will review highlights from the past year and review our progress against the strategic plan. President May will provide updates on our key external partnerships and collaborations. The Chief Executive Officer will review association operations, and the Treasurer will review the Society's finances. I ask you to hold all questions until after all presentations are complete. We have set aside time for member questions at the end of the meeting. For those members attending online, we ask that you type your questions into the chat box in Zoom. A staff member will read your name and the question to the audience, and the appropriate officer will respond. Okay. All right, before I get into here, this is not here, but I want to say thank you to all volunteers of ASNT. You know, it is all the volunteers who really make this organization run. And if you see me, you see the board of directors, feel free to ask questions and give feedbacks. And remember, we do always appreciate your contribution to the NDT field in general and ASNT specifically. All right. I'm pleased to report that the members elected 4 directors to the board of directors in April. Competitions for these positions was intense, with more than 35 candidates considered. My thanks to the Leadership Development Committee and Mr. Iman last year and this year's Mr. Keck, strong direction for overseeing the election and presenting outstanding candidates to the board. The 4 members elected include Mr. Michael Childers, Mr. Joshua de Montbron, Mr. Roger Engelbert. He was elected to a 2nd term. Mr. Derek McCain. In addition, the board appointed Mr. Wade Jenstead to the board of directors. All will serve 3-year terms. Let us recognize these members to their volunteer service to the society. I would like to recognize several members who completed their service on the board in June this year If you are here today, please rise when I call your name. Ms. Cindy Finley. Mr. Ricky Morgan. Mr. Tim Roach. Thank you for your service to ASNT. In other governance activities, we implemented the board transparency project last year to share information about our governance practices and the decisions with the members. You may have seen several articles in ME, including that one there from Mr. CEO, in our newsletters discussing board activities over the past year. We intend to continue this communication practice to ensure the members have access to the board's actions and decisions. I encourage you to reach out to me or any of the directors should you have any questions about the board's activities. We conducted a board self-assessment last December, the second time this has been done in recent years. This is considered a best practice in nonprofit governments and is now a standard practice we will repeat every 2 years. The results showed significant improvements across all categories. However, scores for a few areas remained below industry benchmark. So the board took action to remedy these items. For example, the board approved an oversight plan for key employee compensation, established a CEO succession plan, adopted a diversity position statement, and conducted deep dive reviews for key programs. Works in progress include developing a comprehensive risk management program and conducting a review of company insurance policies. We are now in the third year of the implementation of our strategic plan. Many of the objectives have already been accomplished, and we have added several new initiatives. The Strategic Management Committee recently approved the release of the 2024 plan update, which will be published shortly. So compared to the strategic plans we did in the past, in recent years, we try to be proactive, updating the strategic plans every year. Every single year we're doing that. Our focus remains firmly on the 6 pillars contained in the strategic plan. In the area of certification, the ASNT 9712 program has now been active for more than 1 year and is gaining recognition globally, with exams available in the US and in India, magnetic particle testing for bench and yoke techniques, liquid penetrating testing for post-emulsifiable, solvent removable, and water washable techniques, radiographic testing for gamma and X-ray techniques, and ultrasonic testing for casting, forgings, and welds. Coming 2025 will be the exams of video testing, direct and remote, 2 techniques. In addition, we expect to receive ANSI ANAB accreditation for the ASNT 9712 program in 2025. As you will see in the conference this week, we are implementing an important initiative to address the systematic weaknesses contained in the SNTC 1A recommended practice. We know this will be a controversial project, will be an important project, by the way, obviously. But given the feedback we have received from client companies, employers, and individual professionals for many years, this project is long overdue. I know there have been a lot of discussion, opinions throughout the industry. So please join us for the panel session on this subject Tuesday morning. Tell us what you think. Tell the audience, tell everybody what you think. It's a good opportunity to get involved. Pillar 2 is to improve member value. I'm pleased to report much progress in this area as well as several new initiatives. First, in the area of artificial intelligence, we published a ton of content on the subject in the past year, including several books, numerous articles in materials evaluation, research in R&D, research in NDE, webinars, a virtual conference event, numerous presentations, R&D articles, oh, I said that twice, technical papers, and we are working on a standard on the use of AI, ML for NDT or NDE applications. I'm proud to share with you that ASNT received an award for the best single issue in the business-to-business media category from TABPI, the Trade Association Business Publications International, for the July 2024 technical focus issue on AI, ML in NDT. My congratulations to Director of Publications, Jill Ross, and her team of staff and the volunteers for such a wonderful achievement. And there's another one too. So congratulations. I don't want to steal the thunder from our big announcement later today at the opening session, but ASNT is launching its first AI tool for the non-disruptive testing field. That's going to be exciting. This is going to be big, and members are really going to love it. At least I hope you will love it. Try it out, huh? Try it out. And tell us what you think, really, and how to improve it. Watch for the announcement and then be sure to visit the ASNT exhibit to see what all the excitement is about. ASNT launched a volunteer portal in 2024, which matches up member interests and ASNT's volunteer needs and makes it easy for members to engage. We have seen an increase in the number of active volunteers of more than 50% over the past year, in part due to this new tool. I encourage you to try it out. We also just released our new website. Have you had a chance to go there yet? Anybody has seen our website, new website? Okay, I've seen a lot of people raising their hands. It's really much better than the one before. This was the first fully redesigned website for us in more than 10 years. Wow, non-deal, more than 10 years, huh? And it really makes it much easier to navigate and find information, as well as renew membership, purchase books, and register for events. This will make the members' user experience dramatically better. In addition to these accomplishments, the board has adopted several new important initiatives I will briefly introduce you to. First is to implement a program to add in-service inspection practices to standards, publications, and other content. We found that most of our content, whether it be books, exams, etc., are oriented to new fabrication testing. In-surface inspection represents a significant part of our field, and it should not be overlooked. It's just like we never really realized that it was, well, maybe people do realize, never had the time to address that issue. Now it's time. Second, we will implement a system to continuously engage with all organizations who establish and maintain regulations, codes, and standards relevant to the non-destructive testing field to facilitate in the interests of the NDT community. While ASNT does not publish these codes and standards, we do believe it is our responsibility to ensure the bodies that establish and maintain them receive unbiased, trustworthy input from our field, and that potential conflicts of problematic codes are surfaced and addressed before they become issues. Third, ASNT is closely examining our value proposition to the aerospace sector. We believe that there are many opportunities for us to engage with professionals and organizations in aerospace in the advancement of our mission. A plan is being developed to detail how we will tackle this initiative. Last, we are revamping our membership categories to address the emerging needs of the NDT workforce and its employers. In fact, the board approved a plan this morning which will implement the new membership structure and dues. Let me briefly tell you about it. The new structure incorporates what we learned in our research on association membership over the past year. Members have very different wants and needs when it comes to their membership. Not everyone wants all that we offer all the time. The new structure ties members due to the level of their engagement rather than their identity. The new approach also simplifies things significantly. Here are the new categories. First is a professional member, which is very much like our current regular member, with a few changes, including a shift to digital subscription of ME rather than the paper edition. The second is Pro Plus, which adds a subscription to either NDT Pro Tracker or our new AI bot. That's a member's choice. We will continue to offer group discounts for memberships, but with 2 simplified tiers. Lastly, and this is a big one, we will offer a new associate membership, which will be free. This is for those members who want to stay affiliated to ASNT and stay informed about what we are up to, but we only selectively engage in our programs. They will receive a limited edition of Digital ME, a weekly digital newsletter, and have access to local sections as well as our online community, ASNT Connect. This move is designed to increase engagement with the NDT community. We expect it will greatly increase participation of students, retired persons, military members, and veterans, and people looking for jobs or careers in NDT. We also expect to increase engagement outside of the US in places where people may not be able to afford our regular membership. It comes at some expense to ASNT, but we believe it is the right thing to do in service to the field of NDT. Please help us spread the word on the new categories and the dues amounts. Pillar 3 of the strategic plan is to support the development and advancement of the NDT workforce. This is another area we're making great strides in. The ASNT Foundation has 2 reports coming out in November. The first is a workforce readiness report. The primary objective of the study was to identify the relative state of readiness of the NDT workforce and in the US. The report contains assessment of skills by the practitioners themselves and assessment of those same skills by hiring managers and recruiters. It also includes practitioner perspectives of the field, including fairness of the compensation and the benefits and job satisfaction. I'm happy to share that 89% of the respondents enjoy their work and 95% are likely to recommend a career in NDT to others. That's impressive numbers. I hope they did not lie during the survey. And in future, you do the surveys, just speak to your mind. It's all for the public good. There's no point of trying to, it's not like the survey you fill out in your job, right? The Workforce Readiness Report highlights current and emerging skills gaps in the workforce and emphasizes the importance of modernizing NDT education and training. It demonstrates that NDT must play a big role in engineering education programs and confirms training institutions must have access to the latest skills and technologies to be effective. Long-term, the report will help ASNT and the foundation map out its workforce development priorities. The second report is a US industry composition report. It includes practitioner demographics and the salary differences based on job role, work environment, certification, professional tenure, their industry, and the supervisory responsibilities. The report will enable employers in their industry to understand their composition, package compared to industry standards, and it will also provide practitioners with a benchmark of how they are being compensated comparatively. Both reports will be available from asntfoundation.org in November 2024. We have also published the NDT career pathways on the new ASNT website. I would encourage you to visit there. You'll find extensive information about the NDT profession, how to enter, and how to progress. It really is impressive. Lastly, we'll be conducting a apprenticeship awareness and education campaign with webinars during National Apprenticeship Week, which is November 17 to 23. ASNT recently obtained Department of Labor, that's the US government's DOE, Department of Labor, approval for our apprenticeship program standard guidelines, which is an important step in developing quality apprenticeship programs, which in turn will help produce the next generation of qualified practitioners. As always, our thanks to our partners at AATA and NDT-MA as we work together to develop a new talent for the NDT field. I want to point out several career advancement events which will be held here at the conference, including scheduled interviews with hiring officials, as well as a networking reception. Much of the work we do to advance the workforce comes from our advocacy efforts, and Pillar 4 is to advocate for the NDT field. There are several exciting developments in this area. First, ASNT appointed Ms. Gara Laming as Director of Public Relations and Government Affairs. Gara is our first employer focused solely on advocacy and reflects ASNT's long-term commitment to advocating for the profession. Gara is relocating to Washington, D.C., where she will open ASNT's D.C. office for legislative affairs. This will be ASNT's home base for reaching key federal agencies, regulatory bodies, and the Congress to advance our agenda. So you got anything to say, find Gara. In May, ASNT participated in our first Hill Day on Capitol Hill, along with our friends from AMPP, which is the former nation, the SPCC, right? CEO Couture, Vice President Riggs, and Ms. Liming joined more than 50 AMPP members to advocate for several legislative priorities, including the Freedom to Invest in Tomorrow's Workforce Act, which seeks to expand the 529 savings account to encompass career savings tax benefits. So really, there is something can be done. Accordingly, ASNT is pleased to announce we will host our first ever non-digital testing day on the Hill in March 2025. We invite our members and their employers to join us on the Hill to meet with congressional members and staff to tell them about NDT and to introduce our first planned bill. Watch for announcements and implementation in coming weeks with the details. We hope you join us there. Our advocacy efforts will be expanding into organized grassroots efforts with members and sections, including outreach to local high schools and trade schools and to state and local governments. Kudos to our advocacy committee, which under Vice President Riggs and Ms. Liming's stellar leadership continues to push the envelope to spread the word about the NDT field and to marshal attention to our workforce and the regulatory needs. The fifth pillar of the strategic plan is global growth. As we reported last year, our ASNT Indian office is operational and is providing certification and training of NDT professionals in India and Southeast Asia. In August, an ASNT delegation attended the ASNT 2024 conference in Hyderabad with almost 500 people in attendance, actually more than 500 people in attendance, and with more than 40 exhibitors and sponsors present. This was an outstanding event co-organized by the ASNT Indian section and the ASNT Indian staff, and every year sets records for attendance and exhibits. We hope you can join us for ASNT 2025, which will be in the resort destination of Goa in August 2025. Join CEO Couture, Vice President Riggs, CFAO Neely Wheat, Chief Global Strategy Officer Paul Lang, and Director of Region 19, Mohammed Abafor in India, were several colleagues from the American Welding Society. The group met more than 50 leaders of industry and government, including India's railway minister, shown here. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Richard Arn, Vice President of Welding Technologies at AWS, who collaborated with us on these meetings. Thank you, Mr. Arn. ASNT also sent a delegation to the Mideast to meet with members in several countries to listen to their needs from ASNT. Many thanks to Director of Region 19, Mohammed Abfor, who helped organize meetings with our sections, as well as numerous large companies in the region to discuss their NDT support needs. Thank you to President May and the Chief Global Strategy Officer Paul Lang for making the trip and leading ASNT in the region. President May will discuss further our collaborative efforts with our sister societies as a part of our global growth strategy in his talk, which will be coming up next. The sixth pillar of our strategy plan is to expand scholarship and research in the field. I'm pleased to report the ASNT Foundation has achieved several key goals this past year. Hopefully, many of you participate in the second annual ASNT Foundation Golf Tournament fundraiser held on Saturday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, right? Yeah. Time goes really fast, sometimes really slow. I cannot keep up. Additionally, we will have our second annual silent auction in the exhibit hall this week, as well as a special auction at the AST Celebrates on Wednesday evening. We encourage you to bid on the items. The funds go to support the foundation's programs and are tax deductible. And be watching for the foundation's Ways to Support ASNT Foundation campaign being launched here at the conference. I would now like to invite President Clyde May to the podium.
Thank you, John, and good afternoon, members. Short disclaimer before I begin. For those of you who know me, I'm ready at any time and love to stand up and talk. But reading from a prepared statement is a challenge. Anybody know why? I'm used to looking at you, right? I can't read, but font size becomes the next challenge, right? So bear with me. Again, I'm used to looking at you folks when I talk. Try to read this piece of paper, but also if I get lost, bear with me, I'll find it, because I made the print as big as I could so that it wouldn't be an encyclopedia. So as president of the society, I spend much of my time and attention traveling to meet members, employers, government agencies that have a hand in our great business. I'll also try not to ad-lib too much. These visits enable us to get voice of customer, hear back, but to share the mission and purpose of ASNT. Again, Gara's looking at me, I'm ad-libbing, because I looked at you and lost my place. Over the past year, it's all right, Jeff. Over the past year, our team has attended events hosted by NDTMA, ASNE, API, AWS, AMP, and other technical societies across the U.S., as well as international societies, including JSNDI, see, there's the print, the Japanese Society, CINDE, the Canadian Society, and BINDT, the British Society. In May, I led a delegation to the 20th World Conference on NDE, hosted by the Korean Society in Seoul, Korea. It was an impressive event with more than 1,000 technical presentations and 300 exhibitors. I was pleased to host a reception of more than 100 ASNT members who either presented or attended the conference. What was new for us at this event was our friends from the American Welding Society, who attended and co-exhibited with us. The feedback we received from attendees was quite positive, confirming that our belief that AWS and ASNT achieve great things for our respective members. We estimated that 40% of the NDE professionals who visited our booth were also certified welders or welding inspectors or whose career paths have taken them across both fields. I will be speaking more about AWS shortly. While in Korea, we participated in various ICNDT meetings as participants in the international community. I am pleased to report that ASNT presented its proposal to hold the 2032 World Conference, but unfortunately we were not selected. The event was awarded to Singapore. ASNT has broad engagement in the international community. Past President David Bajula serves as the ICNDT Executive Committee and chairs the Working Group 2 on membership. Several members and staff serve as members of other working groups and SIGs. Past President Kevin Smith represents ASNT as the treasurer of the Asian Pacific Federation of NDT. Past President Danny Keck serves as co-chair for the APC NDT 2026 conference, and CEO Couture serves as a member of the APF NDT Board of Directors. Mr. Bajula also serves on the Board of Directors of the Pan American Society of NDT and chair of the ANSI ISO TC 135 Technical Advisory Group. Past President Marvin Trim serves as vice chair of that group. ASNT maintains MOUs with more than 40 national NDT societies and are building on our mutual recognition agreement for certification with the Japanese Society. We are presently in discussions with our friends from the Indian Society of NDT to build on years of collaboration and friendship. We expect great things coming from these relationships for our international community. On Wednesday, we will again host our international colleagues in an international forum to discuss challenges and issues common to our societies. We look to share information, ideas, best practices, solutions for the betterment of all involved. We believe that this is our collective best interest, as well as the interest in the global NDT community. In August, Vice President Jason Riggs, CEO Neil Couture, CFO Neely Wheat, Chief Strategy Officer Paul Lang, joined India Director and General Manager Prakash in Hyderabad, India for the ICE NDE 2024 conference. As Dr. Chen noted, this event is a collaboration between the ASNT India section, which now has more than 2,000 members and certified individuals, and ASNT's India company. While in India, the delegation met with more than 50 companies and government ministries in Hyderabad, New Delhi, Mumbai, and Chennai, developing the important relationships which are essential to understanding the NDT issues and challenges of the region. Our delegation also met with counterparts from the Indian Society to discuss improving relations and considering ways to expand our collaboration for mutual benefit. Our colleagues from AWS accompanied us and were active participants in all meetings. In September, Mr. Lang, Mr. Prakash, and I, accompanied by ASNT Region 19 Director Mohammed Abafor, attended the Oman Materials Corrosion and Mechanical Integrity Summit, which was hosted by the ASNT Oman section and the AMP Oman chapter. We met with several businesses operating in the region and conducted seminars on personnel qualification and ASNT certification. Following the conference, Mr. Lang, Mr. Abafor, and I visited UAE, Saudi Arabia, to meet with key stakeholders along with specific NDE challenges to discuss their specific NDT challenges. Wow. We are pleased to be guests of honor at the meetings hosted by our sections in those two countries. Over the course of the visits and through discussions with literally hundreds of NDT professionals, inspection personnel, quality professionals, and company executives, 4 consistent themes have shown through. First, ASNT enjoys a great reputation across the globe. People trust the ASNT name. Second, the demand for high-quality NDT certification across the globe far exceeds supply. People are looking for help now. Third, most of the world does not understand that personnel certified by an employer are not ASNT certified NDT level 2s and 3s. This part I don't need to read. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of people claiming credentials improperly. This is something that we must address immediately. And fourth, industry sees the benefits in ASNT, AWS, and other technical societies coming together to serve the inspection, quality, and asset management needs through innovative cross-sectional or cross-functional programs. These fields that we serve are adjacent and have much in common. Back to my earlier comments about collaborating with AWS. You probably saw the announcement on the strategic collaboration in August between ASNT Certification Services and the American Welding Society to harmonize requirements for certifications and expand the global reach for both organizations. This is just the first of what we hope will be other collaborative efforts with AWS, again, to the benefit of our respective members and the industry. We have invited colleagues of the Association Materials Protection and Performance, formerly known as NACE and now known as AMP, to also join in the collaborations. I look forward to much progress in the coming months. Thank you for your continued support and engagement. I now ask Mr. Neil Couture to present a report of operations.
I'm pleased to report this report on the Society's business operations. First, as of June 30th, 2024, ASNT has 11,223 members, including 413 lifetime members, 88 regular members, 583 new professional members, and 339 student members. This is a decrease of about 1,100 members from last year. This trend runs counter to all of our engagement trends. We are reaching more people with our programs than ever before, yet membership continues to decline. As we have noted over the past several years, association membership is changing in the U.S., driven mainly by societal shifts and preferences, including access to online information, networking, and learning, as well as the pace of boomer retirements and more. As Dr. Chen noted in his talk, the ASNT board has been examining these issues in great detail and is adopting an updated membership strategy, including a new member due structure and an increased focus on corporate engagement. Further details on the new membership structure, beyond what Dr. Chen presented, will be available during the conference. ASNT recognizes its members who have made great contributions to the field over long careers by placing their names on the Tree of Knowledge following their passing. We have 6 people to honor this year, including Mr. Don Childers, ASNT Fellow Class of 1987, Mr. Robert McClung, ASNT Past President, 1969-70, and the ASNT Fellow Class of 1973, and a 50-year member. Dr. Boro Georgievich, ASNT Fellow Class of 1998, and a recipient of the Research Award for Sustained Excellence in 2014 and the Robert McMaster Gold Medal in 2021. Mr. Lewis Elliott, ASNT Fellow Class of 1984 and recipient of the McMaster Gold Medal in 2008. Mr. Nat Ferranzo, ASNT Past President 2002-2003 and ASNT Fellow Class of 1997. And Mr. James Treat. Please join me in saying thank you to these heroes of ASNT. I'd be remiss in failing to note that the Tree of Knowledge is in the office down in Houston, so if you ever have a chance to go down and see it. But I want to point out it was the inspiration of Mr. Scott Cargill down here in the front row that created this thing back 6 years ago. Thank you, Scott. The Awards and Honors Council, once again chaired by past President Hussein Sadek. Hi, Hussein. Has selected 34 outstanding individuals to receive awards, many of which will be presented on stage during the conference. For the first time since 2017, we will be presenting the Lou de Valerio Tech of the Year Award. We're thrilled by the strong participation in our awards program. We set a record this year again with 143 nominations, which is 25 more than last year. Additionally, the council is exploring introducing new award programs to recognize organizational achievements in NDT and volunteers to ASNT, as well as the NDT industry. Stay tuned for more details on those developments. I'm happy to report we will also be recognizing 21 sections receiving President's Awards for their outstanding performance on Thursday at lunch. We did not charter or decharter any sections this year. We're in the process of changing the Section Operations Council to be comprised of one delegate from each section and to change their focus from policy to best practice. The region structure is being eliminated. Section guidance will come directly from SOC, and assistance will come from a group of volunteer ambassadors who will be senior members with extensive section and association experience. Many of these section ambassadors will be drawn from our former regional directors, section leaders, and past presidents. The main difference here is the elimination of hierarchy. We're planning a volunteer leadership summit in summer 2025 to provide all volunteers across the society with necessary training and information and help build further connections. I'm pleased to report attendance at this year's annual conference is again near record levels, with more than 2,400 total participants expected. We have achieved new records in the number of exhibitors with 220, exhibit square footage, and sponsors. New features at the conference this year include a thought leaders session, open space sessions with topical but unscripted conversations, sponsored session rooms by AOS, TPAC, and Waygate, ASNT Connect community meetups, the Engage stage in the exhibit hall featuring cool new ideas presentations, Ignite talks, sponsor presentations, and the finals of the VT and UT competitions. And of course, scheduled activities in the ASNT exhibit booth, including new product demos. I want to recognize the ASNT 2024 Engage sponsors, which includes Carestream NDT, Evident, and Waygate Technologies. Thank you again for sponsoring the event. Over the past year, we have hosted several successful events, other events including advanced imaging for NDT in Cincinnati in April with 179 attendees and 25 exhibits, the 32nd annual research symposium in Pittsburgh in June, which had 152 technical presentations and 236 attendees. ASNT also hosted the MFPT annual conference on diagnostics, prognostics, and failure prevention in May in Virginia Beach. While that conference is small, it represents our initial efforts in our collaboration with the legacy MFPT leaders and to revive and rebuild that group. ASNT remains the global leader in NDT content publications. We maintain a catalog of more than 300 book titles and chapters in print and ebook format, with sales of more than 25,000 units last fiscal year. In the past year, we published 8 new books and standards listed here. We currently have more than 15 projects in development and plan to publish 6 of these by the end of fiscal year 25. We continue to improve our online store to make it a one-stop shop. Now, in addition to buying print books and ebooks, accessing digital ME and its archive dating back to 2016, accessing digital RNDE, and searching for individual research papers, users can now access current errata and download supplemental materials directly from the product page on the store. As has become a regular event, the publications team again took home several important industry awards, including the Tabby Honorable Mention in the category of Best Single Issue, top 25 issues for the July 2023 issue of Materials Evaluation, as well as the Apex Grand Award for Writing topic for that same issue. The publications team won another Apex Award of Excellence for the redesign of Materials Evaluation and a Gold Trendy Award for Best Professional Society Monthly Magazine. Congratulations again, Jill. Your team truly represents ASNT's members well. Not to be outdone, our content team took home an A100 Com Impact Award from Onward and Upward Association's 100 for innovative content strategy. ASNT is one of the first associations which has adopted a content strategy as a way of delivering value to our members. And while we're only a year or so into it, our team has already been recognized as leaders in this new field. Congratulations to Director of Content, Tony Kervina, and her team on that award. And finally, one more award to highlight. ASNT earned an Apex Award of Excellence in the Social Media Sites category for our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram pages. Only 2 awards were given in this category. Congratulations to Director of Marketing and Communication, Debbie Seagore, and her team. In the area of education and training, our online training portfolio continues to perform nicely, and we look to expand those offerings over the next year. One new course I want to highlight is Ethics in NDT, which addresses a special interest item for the society. Our in-person portfolio also continues to grow with new courses for UT Level 2, a course on DRCT, and other topics. We are building our partnerships with equipment companies such as Waygate and Phoenix Imaging to provide training in advanced methods which cannot be taught in our Houston facility. In total, we reach more than 3,500 people each year through our training programs, and that number is increasing. ASNT certified 1,612 people compared to 1,378 last year, including 920 ASNT NDT level 3s, compared again to 1,035 last year, and awarded 255 ISQ qualifications, which was more than the 182 from the previous year in the oil and gas sector. ASNT has certified fewer people than typical since the pandemic, and our recertification rates remain constant, with 2,709 individuals over the past year. Though we are struggling with significant increases in our certified personnel, the number of certificates per individual has continued to rise, with over 3.2 certificates per individual. That's up from 2 certificates per person previously. We continue to study this trend as part of the workforce shift, in which many certified individuals are retiring or entering retirement age range. The MyCert enhancements continue. We have established full online certification and recertification application processes for our NDT, ASNT 9712, ASNT CWI recognition program, and ISQ. Digital badging has successfully been implemented and transitioned into our programs with 64% overall engagement across all active certificates and qualified individuals, with LinkedIn being the most popular platform for sharing achievements. Finally, the mutual recognition application process for our certification programs will launch November 1st of 2024, with JSNDI being the first organization in which we have entered a mutual recognition agreement to use this process for our ASNT 9712 program. Last year at this event, we were in the process of hiring a new CFO to manage the finances of our rapidly growing and increasingly more complex global organization. I hired Ms. Neely Wheat, and in less than a year, she's done an amazing job of reorganizing and leading the finance department to the point where I had to expand her duties in the company. She's now the Chief Financial and Administrative Officer and serves as the treasurer. Neely and her husband, Nathan, reside in Tampa, Florida, and they had to endure or dodge 2 Cat 4 hurricanes in the last month. So Neely, please come to the podium and present your financial report.
Thank you. When Neil Couture addressed you in Houston last year, he shared that ASNT had evolved into a more complex organization with an increasing international focus. This evolution brought with it the need for a more robust financial analysis and reporting to our governing boards, the Business and Finance Committee, and our business unit leaders. Neil also shared that he had begun the search for a CFO and I'm thrilled to be a part of the ASNT team joining you all here in Las Vegas this year. When I was hired, Neil and the team assured me that I was stepping into a well-managed financial operation, and I can confidently say that those words were spot on. Our financial controls are solid, our business processes are thorough, our financial reporting continues to improve, and the staff and volunteers are composed of some of the most dedicated professionals I've had the privilege of working with. The information I'm sharing today is from the unaudited consolidated financial statements for fiscal year 2024, which ended on June 30th. Our independent audit is currently underway, and I fully expect to receive another unqualified audit opinion for the 5th consecutive year. As I present the financial results, a clear theme will emerge, one of solid growth. 3 years ago, the ASNT board saw an opportunity to make significant investments to position the organization for future growth and approved our current strategic plan. The plan provided for investments of up to $14 million over 5 years to achieve the objectives set out in its 6 pillars. As reported last year, the first 2 years resulted in total strategic investment of $3.5 million. Of our $12.9 million in expenditures in fiscal year 2024, $2.6 million was invested directly into building new and enhancing existing programs, strengthening our global strategy, and expanding research and scholarship through the ASNT Foundation. This brings the total invested into the strategic plan for the first 3 years to $6.1 million. These investments are paying off. In fiscal year 2024, they generated $1.2 million in revenue, which was directly related to the strategic plan. Fiscal year 2024 will be remembered as a year of continued growth for ASNT. We reached a milestone in revenue for the first time in our history with total revenues of $10.1 million, representing a 13% improvement over the prior year. Revenues increased across all areas of the business compared to fiscal year 23. Notably, we have modernized our conference since 2020 to attract new attendees, and last year's event in Houston brought in record-breaking revenue. As you've heard today, we are on track to exceed that here in Las Vegas, achieving our highest event revenue to date. Certification revenue was also strong, closing the year at $3.6 million, up 6% from the previous year. This growth was partly due to an increase in the number of certificates per certified individual, as more certified individuals are adding additional methods to their certification in response to industry demand. We continue to see gains though slow in our new revenue streams, such as the ASNT 9712 program. As expected, our education revenue saw substantial growth in its first full year of operations since the acquisition of NDT Classroom, grossing over $1 million. The NDT Classroom products are performing in line with projections, and the education department is focused on differentiating ASNT from a crowded training market through improved quality and advanced topics. Advertising revenue reached almost $600,000 this year, another increase of 6% over last year. While print media advertising has been declining in recent years, we have made a concerted effort to expand our digital offerings for advertisers. With the launch of a new buyer's guide, an updated website, we have more advertising options than ever before. Additionally, by bringing our exhibitor, sponsor, and advertising sales back in-house, our new business development team is well-positioned for continued growth. On the expense side, we saw total expenses decrease by $75,000 compared to last year. Despite significant strategic investments, our net operating deficit improved by 33%, standing at $2.5 million. Our operating profit margin also increased by the same rate, showing steady improvement. In summary, we experienced a deficit of $1.1 million from operations not related to our strategic initiatives. As reported last year, the Board of Directors approved a 3-year plan for fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 27, aimed at eliminating operating losses by the end of fiscal year 27. Based on the numbers I've shared today, we are well on our way to achieving that goal. Our investment portfolio also performed well, with investment incomes and gains increasing by 19% over the prior year. ASNT's balance sheet remains strong. Our net assets now stand at $26.5 million, an increase of $1.4 million over the prior year. Notably, our net assets have grown as we have aggressively invested in the strategic plan, and I'm also happy to share that we remain debt-free. Finally, while it is important to track our financial performance against our own benchmarks, it is equally valuable to compare ASNT to other associations of similar size. According to the American Society of Association Executives Operating Revenues Report, ASNT's revenue and expenses per employee outperformed the median for associations with annual revenues between $10 and $20 million. In fact, our investment performance exceeds that of similar-sized associations. Having just crossed that $10 million revenue mark, we are already performing at a high level within this group. As your CFAO, I am committed to achieving our financial goals and continuing to drive success for ASNT. I look forward to a bright future ahead for our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Neely. So, ladies and gentlemen, the officers will now entertain questions from the members. Please come to the microphone or raise your hand. We'll bring it to you. Mike has got it handy down here, and we'll take your questions in turn. There's also one back there with Ms. Heather. For members attending online, please post your questions to the chat box in the Zoom app, and staff will relay them to me. Any questions?
We do have online questions.
Go ahead.
Now. So Arturo would like to know, what will the AI ML topics as a part of the ASNT's 4G strategy be?
Repeat the question, please.
The question is, what will be the AI ML topics as a part of ASNT's 4G strategy?
Anyone want to take that one? So we're stumped. What do we mean by 4G strategy?
Well, he's listening online, so maybe he'll continue to type in another question that further clarifies.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the reference to 4G strategy. No one up here does either, so. Oh, NDE 4.0. Got it. Okay. So what's the AI ML strategy for NDE 4.0? Got it. You want to talk about that? Mr. Chair, come on up.
Hey, I'm an old school. It just happened. I don't really, I don't think the industry 4.0 has really resulted in much real impact to the NDT industry yet. I might be wrong, okay? All those suppliers, the people, users of the ND, if you disagree, let me know. But so the AI, from an ASNT perspective, we just want to use that tool to be accessible to every single member. I mean, you just open your smartphone, your laptop, you just go to the AI bot, you type your questions, and it will give you an answer, right? You want it to write a procedure for you, it can do one for you. The good thing about that is all the knowledge base is, guess what? Is within the ASNT's body of knowledge. You're not sourcing your answers from who knows where, right? So the result of that is, relatively speaking, more reliable. So with that said, so you all are welcome to use it and see what it can help you out. And if not, let us know. We will definitely improve on it. Thank you.
if I might add a little to that. So I would argue that our strategy is to start with content. So taking conversation, part of the discussion, the dialogue, whether it's through our conference events, research papers, publications, it all starts with the dialogue. The second thing we go to is standards. Establishing, which right now doesn't necessarily exist, a standard for AI ML in the NDE field. That is a product that's currently under final review and will be published in 2025. You then go into personnel qualification and certification, which is where you start incorporating examination content on the subject matter. At the same time, you go into your education and more training portfolio. So the strategy is a cross-product portfolio, but it starts with conversation of the members, content on the subject matter, expansion of the body of knowledge through research and application, and then into certification, examination standards, et cetera. Did I get that? I got thumbs up. Okay. Whew. Any easier questions, please? Oh, wait, we have Anish Pudel, Dr. Pudel, who is on that committee.
Well, I was supposed to ask another question, not to comment, and I think you did a good job there. So, yeah. All right. My question to the group here is, has there been any discussion of some sort or any strategic vision for the sustainability and kind of resiliency initiative from ASNT?
Sustainability.
That's a pretty big thing everybody's talking about lately. So I know that we use different technologies and everything, right? There's a lot of things that people are talking, doing in the industry-wide, has there been any thought about how ASNT can also play a pretty big role on supporting those initiatives?
So it is my observation that the answer is no. It's at that front end of that process, that same process, which is content generation, dialogue, publications, research. We're not at the point yet of having an official ASNT position, a standard, a training course, or anything on that. It has come up as subject matter in our conferences and in our publication, ME, but that's I think as far as mature as it has gotten to date.
Okay, thank you.
Heather?
So the next online question that came in was from Doug. Have there been any conversations with the current administration about forgiveness of loans for trade schools in line with the tuition forgiveness program?
Forgiveness of loans for trade schools. Is that as an advocacy topic?
I believe so. He's wanting to know if there's been any conversations with the current administration about.
I got it. No, not yet. Recognizing that our advocacy program is brand new. Gara literally started her job in July. We have not identified that as a priority item in the advocacy. Our first and foremost priority is workforce. That kind of fits in there adjacent to that conversation. So it's something that Gara will note and look into. But as of right now, no action. We haven't spoken to anyone on the Hill about loan forgiveness for trade schools. Sir, microphone.
Thank you. My comment is more on the member values for membership. I like what I saw on the new membership where there would be a free associate or whatever you're going to end up calling it. But I guess my question, with so much money in the bank, are there things we can do to provide more value for members? And ideas such as, in these conferences, as we used to come, there'd be more refreshments, spousal activities, things like that, that maybe it costs us a little more, but provides better value for the members. With the UT challenge and that they're doing, is there a way to provide samples to local sections to where they could maybe help with training of their local members? Because on the local section level, a lot of level 2s don't see a lot of benefit in coming to the meetings. Level 3s will come to get points or that. But if we were able to provide training sessions or maybe have canned talks that are like specific to the common methods that anybody in that section could give. But it's just a technical training, not for any one company or another. And then a final point is, as those people that get points for recertification, I think we should consider giving points for attending the equipment exhibit, because as a level 3, in my mind, I may get a lot more from going there and seeing what new equipment is available than some of the talk. So, you know, maybe we consider giving points for attending the equipment exhibit also.
Your name, sir?
Jim Elder.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Appreciate that feedback. My staff in the back is taking notes about your points comment to put that on the list of topics to discuss. I can say that I think you may have heard Neely mention that in the strategic plan, there was fundamentally a decision to invest $14 million in programs, products, and services that are to the benefit of members. So I think that's a first benchmark, is a fairly large investment there. That's, I have to tell you how unusual that is. Associations don't do that. They tend to sit on their stack of money until it gets, you know, to Scrooge McDuck levels. So that's one point. The other point is absolutely the goal of the association, from my observation from all levels, boards, committees, sections, is to try and figure out ways to be more relevant and add more value to members. The discussion topics are endless. There are lots of different ways that we can do that. One of the topics we've talked about is this concept of a association-wide training program that we produce and push out to the sections, because one of the things that we've seen is that some sections find a hard time organizing, getting enough volunteers to do the training. So that's one program that's actually been in the education department's hands to look at how would we do that, push it out. It'd become both a fundraiser and a training program for your local section. All we would do is prepare the material and send it to you. So there are those kinds of programs we're looking into. I can't speak to the points thing. I think that's just one of those things we have to look at and see what the ramifications are. I'm not the certification guy, so I can't answer it. But I do encourage you to speak to our staff in the exhibit booth about your ideas in more depth. Okay.
So if I may just address
your microphone.
Okay. Regarding the last point you made about the certification point, right? If you would allow people who attend the exhibition to obtain a certification point, this could be a really sticky argument and can be made either way. But the way I have seen, in order to be qualified as a certification point, it always, one criteria is like, if this add value to the person's understanding, you know, during that period of time when he was certified. So to obtain this point usually are really, really quantified. There's a lot of criteria, such as you will be there for 1 hour of time, you attend it, you attend the quiz exam, you pass the exam, whatever, right? And depending on what kind of certification you're talking about, the level 3 exams, would have those kind of criteria there in order for your point to be considered the real point. So if you can come up with a criteria on how to quantify the effectiveness of you going to for a person to go to the exhibition, to quantify the effectiveness of those kind of training, it will be considered. But other than that, I mean, like I said, we have to be creative to come up with a threshold like that.
Other questions, sir?
This is Mehdi. So around last year, you started the office in Houston. So after a while, so we just had the Columbus.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear now?
Better, thank you.
Okay. So around last year, I started the first maybe office rather than Ohio in Houston. And my question is going to be, any plan to start that offices in other places in the US? You talk about the international, which is
right,
try to growing, but how about the domestic?
So as of right now, there are no plans to expand in the United States in terms of physical geographic facilities. Our strategy is more in line with working with our partners. So for example, I'll use my friends at AWS as an example. They've got a facility down in Miami. Our friends at AMP have a facility in Pittsburgh and also in Houston. Other companies, other organizations, that's just a few. So that's really, I think, where our strategy is going to go, is to home base with partner organizations rather than us, building a building or renting a facility. There's a couple of reasons for doing that. One is reduces your upfront investment, of course, to get in, but also to leverage from whatever the business is that they're doing that's adjacent to us. So that's kind of where the strategy is shifting more. Yep.
The next question comes from Chris. With launching of the ASNT 9712 certification program, are there any plans for mutual recognition of the Canadian certification program for NDT?
So as of right now, there are no plans for mutual recognition with the Canadian Society. That said, we just literally adopted our first test program with the Japanese. There were reasons for doing that, long history of working together, similarity of programs. So in my book, we're still in the test phase. We're still trying out what that MRA looks like. Once we have our feet under us and we have a better sense of how those work, then we'll consider other candidate organizations. There are 30, 40 other 9712 certifying national societies that we would potentially have in that realm. But it's more of a case of we want to get through our test program, get some good data, get some good experience before we commit to anyone else. I will add, we have close relations with the Canadians. We meet with them at least annually. So if we have those conversations with anyone, they'd be at the front of the line right with us.
And the next question from online participants is, are there any plans to add further NDE methods in ASNT C1A as a part of the training and certification program?
Come to the presentation tomorrow morning. There's a lot of need for discussion about TC1A. I don't think I'm in a position to say, I don't think any of us are in a position to say we're going to add any more techniques. I think there are other deeper issues with TC1A that we have to address first. So our plan is not necessarily to add to it right now, more to address some other issues.
How about sense of things rather than, yeah.
You don't have to ask me.
Okay. All right. So let me just try to answer that question from another perspective. Rather than focus on the ASNT TC1A program, how about, let's say, in general, how about NDT add another method, right? And adding another method or not, in the physical sense, has to do with the usability of the method to the practical issues, right? You might have seen people, come up with ideas while working in the laboratory, but never work in the field or never have reached the potential to be applied broadly in the field. Then if things cannot reach that level, then commercially, this will not be a viable certificate. And because at the end of the day, all the certification organizations has to operate in order to get the certificates out. So there's only 1 or 2 individuals doing a certain method. More than likely, you don't need a certification method in the program. In other words, if there's really somebody find a new physical principle which can be used for a challenging situation and very useful, very reliable, well, of course, it will become a new entity method eventually, in the handbooks and in the certification schemes. So I hope that addresses that person's concern. Thank you.
Anyone else? Terrific. Oh, wait, I saw a hand move. Come on. Oh, there's Mike there.
I was wondering, with the new AI tool that you have and implemented, I tried to use it. It worked pretty well, but if you could give me more details on the oversight or the view of the questions and how that works.
How many of you know?
That builds more confidence.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking a lot about Anita over the course of the show, but I'll give you some information here. How many of you are familiar with ChatGPT? What's the criticism with ChatGPT? Humans screw it up, right? Because it's an AI engine that learns from the user community. It shifts its response hierarchy based on what input is put in. So the first thing that we said was we can't allow that. We can't have our AI tool be compromised by God knows what. So it is a closed model. What that means is the only thing that is allowed to go into its training are what we put into it. And what we have put into it is our vast body of knowledge of research, publications, our books, our manuals, our training guides, basically content that we can vouch for. So it will not be compromised or degraded over time based on the usage. We will watch the usage to see where the questions tend to go, and that will then help drive our new content development strategy, which is another benefit of it. But that's how it's controlled. It's not allowed outside information. Sir?
I'll say it was very curt, but it did have a wrong answer. It quoted the old specification.
Yep.
And looking at the new specification.
Yep.
You know, the specification quoted wasn't in
Yep.
there. With a little bit of help with the colleague.
Yep.
And we replied back to it.
Yep.
I did say, so it was.
Yep. Just like any other AI tool, it is fallible. So you have to kind of buyer beware, I guess, but it is very useful. And as we mature the product, we're adding more content in, like all of our partner organizations with their standards. We're talking to AWS, we're talking to ASME about how do we incorporate your most current standards in here, equipment manufacturers, user guides, you know, calibration guides, things like that, that will add over time. This is version 1.0, and I think we got a pretty good start. But thanks. And if you do have those kinds of items that you find, feed them back to the team, and they'll look into it. And Tony, wave your hand. Tony is the program manager over the Anita AI engine, and she will be glad to help you out there. Thank you, sir.
We do have another online question.
Go ahead.
Is there any update for time of flight diffraction NDT test? In other words, can anyone be certified in TOFT without a certificate in UT level 3?
Paul, would you like to answer that? Use the mic.
Yes. So for the phased array and the TOFT, you're already going to have to be certified UT. Okay. And then you move from there. So when it was originally talked about, it was talked about in techniques, but we quickly got into it that these aren't specific techniques within UT. They're actually certifications within UT. So you're going to already have to be a certified individual to go to TOFT or phased array.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out today and joining us. We look forward to seeing you around the show over the course of the next few days. The program, the keynote session begins at 4 p.m., which is in general session room 204. And of course, immediately following the opening session is the opening exhibit hall reception, and we invite you to join us there as well. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Thank you.